Singing high, yi, yippee-ki-yo, standing high and looking low. Singing high, yi, yippee-ki-yo, he's not that big, we know. But man, that boy can throw. The boy that we call Moe. Well, the river turned red and the mayor wouldn't listen, and the prairie dog spread and he still wouldn't listen, and the grasslands came and the mayor wouldn't hear it, and the cattle fell dead and he still didn't fear it, and the peoples came up in every dimension, and the wind blew and still wouldn't pay attention. Oh, when the ducks go quack, the wacky, wacky, whack, and the owls say hoo, hoo, and the stars shine bright in the Rocky Mountain night. You know it must be love. La ta da ta da.
One of the movies?
That's a really good question. Overall, it takes about a year, maybe a year and a half, from the time we start thinking about the story, and then once the script was written, that took probably about 4 or 5 months to go from idea to final script. And now we need to figure out what the pictures are going to look like, what Dodgeball City is going to look like.
We draw these pictures of what everything looks like, and we have a script. But then we draw these pictures over here. Does this look like anything you've seen before? Does it look like a comic strip, kind of, or a comic book? We do the whole show like this, where we draw everything that happens like it's a comic book. And then that's what we'd use to tell the animators, well, this is where Larry goes and this is what he does. And then we have a burning tumbleweed and we show the animators where that goes. This type of stuff here takes between 4 and 6 months to draw all the pictures of what everything is going to look like, and then to draw the comic books of what happens. The reason that there's different angles is because we draw the picture on the piece of paper, but then somebody up in Canada has to take those drawings and turn it into an object in the computer. Do you know how if you use Play-Doh or clay, you can sculpt something and make it and turn it around and look at it from any angle? Well, people on the computers sculpt the characters and the sets inside the computer, so they need to know what everything looks like from different angles, because if you only draw one picture from the front, then they don't know what it looks like from the back. So we draw what it looks like from the back and from the front and from the side, so the person who's sculpting it knows what it looks like from every direction.
I noticed that when there are mass multiples of things, they're either peas or carrots. Is that a reason?
Peas and carrots. Yeah.
If you've seen Larry Boy and the Rumor Weed, in that show, we made lots and lots of different characters. But the problem was when you put lots of really, really interesting things in one place, you don't really know what to look at. And so usually, we want you looking at Larry or at Bob or whoever our main character is. And we find if we fill the background with peas and carrots, it fills up the space, it gives us people to act with, but it doesn't detract from what we're really trying to make you look at.
I actually don't even draw, so well, I draw maybe just a little bit. So we have probably about 5 artists total who do all the design, and then once things go up to animation, then we have, probably 50 or 60 different people up in Toronto that are working on the show. So there's quite a bit of people up there.
Some computer people can draw the pictures. Some computer people are really technical and they just do the computery things. But a lot of the people who work on our shows are really good artists and can paint and draw very well. It's really important if you want to be a great artist of any kind, it's important to learn how to draw very well.
Here in Franklin is where we write the stories and we do all the drawings to create how the show is going to look. Like all of these drawings here, they were all done before anything was ever animated, and all these designs of the characters, and then all of that goes up to Toronto, up in Canada, and that's where we do our animation. Animation it happens sort of backwards compared to regular filmmaking, in that all of the editing is done before any animation is actually done. So after the script is finished, the first thing to then happen is then the voices. And so then as the voices are being done, the storyboards are being drawn up. And then we create a story reel where we marry we marry the voices to the storyboards, and the reel is created, and then that drives all the timing from there forward. When a movie is made, there's many different parts that go to it. There's the picture part, there's the sound effects part, which is, you know, the noise that you make when you stomp on the ground and you hear that little thump. That noise has to be put in.
Do you know how on your radio you can turn the volume up and make it louder and turn it down and make it softer? Well, there's a man whose job it is to, it's like he takes lots of different radios, and one has music on it and one has the characters' voices, and he gets all the radios set to just the right level so that it sounds just right. That's his job. That's all he does.
That's right. Yeah.
I bet he doesn't get paid.
He gets paid a lot.
A lot of times, new characters come from needing it from a new story. So, for instance, we'll come up with a story where we think, well, Larry would be good as this character and Bob would be good as this character, but we have this other part in the story where we don't really have any VeggieTales characters that'll fit into that part. So then we'll create a new character for that. And that's kind of how Petunia came to be when we did Duke and the Great Pie War. A lot of times in a story, you have a character that needs to learn a lesson. And Bob is kind of the one that teaches the lesson, and so Larry's good at learning lessons, so that's why he's in a lot of stories, because, you know, he's a little clueless. He doesn't know what's going on most of the time. The letter that Bob and Larry got at the beginning of the show was from a little girl who was wondering, how is she supposed to be all these things? How is she supposed to be kind and good and loving and forgiving? Sometimes it's really hard to do that, and we wanted to tell a story that teaches kids that with God's help, we can do that. How many know the story of Moses from the Bible? Yeah? Oh, right. Well, that's awesome.
Was there
a different way.
Was there a buffalo in the Bible?
No.
Oh, there was. And we made that part up. What was your favorite part?
When it got wet.
When he got away? When he ran away and fell in the well, in the bear?
I'm going, ow.
Oh, and they got stuck in the desert? Got stuck in that valley?
I like to call them smoke snakes.
The smoke snake?
Oh,
Have you ever played with those before?
How old is Larry?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. You know, he's not really sure. He's somewhere... He's somewhere between 4 and 44, I think.
I'm 4 years.
You're 4 years old?
Yeah.
Wow, Larry might be 4 years old too. He just doesn't know.
Who comes up with sources?
Oh, well, usually I've come up with a lot of them. And yeah, what's your favorite one? Oh, the water buffalo. Oh, the very first one. Oh, I didn't come up with that one. Originally, we were going to call the whole show Lone Stranger, because, you know, it's kind of like the Lone Ranger. But a lot of kids today aren't familiar with the... Who knows what the Lone Ranger is?
You guys know
And that's a pretty good showing. Yeah. It's a pretty good showing. So, okay, we're going to name it the Lone Stranger again. Where's our marketing people? Get them back here. Typically with our lessons, we really try to gear them to what a 4-year-old can understand. The aim of our stories and with our storytelling is to tell stories from a biblical worldview. You know, and as Christians, we want to tell stories that are faithful to that worldview of there's a God who made us and who loves us and who wants a relationship with us. And so we feel if we stay true to that worldview, then, you know, that's what VeggieTales is really about.
Remember, God made you special, and He loves you very much. Goodbye!
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. We really wanted to tell the story of Moses and the Exodus, and we tossed around a bunch of different ideas of how we were going to do that.
Throughout the development process, we looked at how Moses fits into the Bible and about how it was a continuation of the story of Joseph.
And we ended up landing on a Western because it fit perfectly as a sequel to Little Joe.
Hey, Bob, you remember the Ballad of Little Joe? Yeah?
In Joseph's case, following God's directions took him from the pit to the palace. In Moses' case, it took him from the palace to the pit. And then, of course, he left the wilderness and went back to Dodgeball City and then went back to the wilderness again.
It's such an important story about God's providence and God's plan. and in history, and how he's going to lead the people of Israel out of bondage and into the promised land.
The important message in this show is that God has a plan.
It's about sticking to God's plan. That's when he's going to use us to do great things for him.
It was only when Moe relied on God's strength and followed his direction that he was able to accomplish this incredible task.
So, what's next?
And in the story of Moe, God had set that plan up years before Moe was even born. And then when Moe would deviate from that plan, when Moses would deviate from the plan, things just got worse.
Moe, in our story, always wanted to be strong. He grew up as the runt in the litter, and developed this skill of dodgeball throwing, and these really great skills on his own. He got mad when one of his own people was being mistreated, and threw a dodgeball at his workmate. That got him into trouble.
You gotta hide me. Oh, what? You going to whack us too?
Well, it started back in cowboy camp for Larry. So he went to cowboy camp, and he was really excited about doing Western. And, Bob had promised that the next show could be a Western. And so he talked Bob into doing a biblical Western, French biblical Western with Little Joe.
Well, a lot of the world was set up already in Little Joe. We had established that Dodgeball City was our equivalent of Egypt, and the Pharaoh, in Western terms, would have been the mayor. We had a problem with the Red Sea because we set our story between the Bighorn Plateau and the feet of the Rockies, and there's just no sea there to cross. So we needed to come up with something different. The big obstacle out there, geographically, is Death Valley. So Mike came up with this really clever way of getting them across Death Valley.
Well, the whole idea with the way we tell stories with VeggieTales is just, imagine this ensemble group of vegetables putting on a play to tell a Bible story. So if you're going to put on a children's play of a Bible story, what would it look like? The Bible is filled with, a lot of violence, and we want to be able to really respect the intent of the original stories and just tell the stories in a way that, small kids can watch and learn from. We have to handle those hard things with respect. We can't, just gloss over them and make them funny, because we have to be true to the original story.
It was really important to me that, especially once we get to the angel of death, in our case, the river flooding and carrying the baby baskets out, it was important that it have weight. Because even though it's a VeggieTales, it's like if we're going to tell this story, we need to stay true to the heaviness of it and to the tragedy of it. We don't want to just whitewash that, because this story is too important to just make light of all that.
It gives kids a way to really identify with the story of Moses in the Bible through this story. They can see, really the parallels in the biblical story and be able to really identify with that.
But just like Moe, God can give you the strength to do what he asks. If you let God be your strength and follow his directions, you'll be amazed at what he can do through you.
Hi kids, my name's Greg, and I'm here at Big Idea with all my friends, and we're going to draw Moe from Moe and the Big Exit.
Hey kids, welcome to another How to Draw. I brought a few friends together with me today, and we're going to draw Zippy from Moe and the Big Exit. So you guys ready to get drawn? All right, let's get to it.
Color the underside of the hat, just to show that there's some shadow. Just color real lightly.
by the way.